Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 32 of the What the Hell Are We Doing podcast. Today, we're having an amazing actor, Katherine Norland, from the Darman videos. She's a big motivational and an inspirational content creator. She's a lot. A lot of. How do you say this? She's always active on Instagram. If you guys want to check her out, I'll put all her links in the description below. And yeah, um, we'll be starting in very soon. Um, let's see. Hello, Catherine. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name's Katherine Norland, and I am an actress and a writer and a mom living in Los Angeles. I'm also a filmmaker.
And a writer and producer.
Yep, yep, indeed.
So, what books or plays have you written before?
Well, I've written a couple of screenplays. I've written a few short films. I've written one feature-length film, but I never made the movie yet. A lot of short films I have made. Right now, I'm currently working on a new book, but my previous books, I have Poetic Prescriptions for Pesky Problems, Poetic Prescriptions for Plaguing Problems, and Poetic Prescriptions for Eternal Youth are my 3 books I have out right now.
Oh, nice. And what's the inspiration behind your books?
I used to use writing as a form of therapy. Whenever I was going through really some tough trials in life and I just felt like I couldn't talk to anybody and no one understood me, I just would write out all my problems. And then one day I was praying and I felt like I was supposed to then write the solution to what the problems are. I wasn't just supposed to write about the problem, because then, like misery loves company, great, we can all say we all have problems, but then how do you come out of it? What's the solution to it? And that's where the Poetic Prescription series was born. I like to say I prescribe poetry instead of pills to cure your emotional and spiritual ills. So just really coming up with answers for the dilemmas that we face in life.
Nice. So, what are some situations that you've overcome that you never thought you would actually overcome, or some word of motivation to those who are dealing with something or are struggling with those issues?
Well, number one piece of advice is never ever make important life decisions when your emotions are all out of whack. When you've just gone through something horrible or tragic or horrific, don't make big life decisions when you're going through that, because your mind isn't in the right place. I see that happening a lot when people go through something bad and they're like, I'm quitting, I'm giving it up, I'm stopping, I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's not the time to make the decisions. So never allow your emotions to dictate what you do in life. Let your goals dictate what you do in life, and you'll have better success if you do that.
Yes. So, how has acting been a different sort of career path for you than your other life choices, like such as you said, writing or making plays?
Well, I had a lot of different jobs I worked before I got into the entertainment field, but it's different. It's different in so many ways. I mean, I think writing and acting in some ways have similar things with just the creativity and having to either develop a character or become a character. That has some similarities, but writing is really a solitary endeavor. Whereas acting, you're with tons of people and you're feeding off each other, and there's the energy and the vibes and the fun and the camaraderie. And then you're at home alone, sitting on the computer by yourself, trying to be brilliant, is the lonely life of a writer. So I feel like I wish I had time to do more of it, but another ways it's kind of like, oh, you're just writing in a vacuum. You're really trying to come up with something out of nothing. Where acting is great because the writer already came up with the stuff and you just need to bring it to life. So they're different. They're each rewarding in their own way. I think acting is more of a quick fix, a quick high, whereas writing is kind of slow and painful. It will take months, sometimes years, to write a book or a screenplay, and then some of it never sees the light of day. It never comes out. So it's a challenge.
So was acting your first job, or do you have any previous experience with different other type of jobs or career path?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I did my first play in grade school, but it wasn't a profession at the time. I did like a play during like community theater, but no, my first job was babysitting, and then when I was 16, I got my first job at McDonald's, and I worked a lot of just random jobs. Some jobs I only lasted 1 day at, and I've had a couple jobs where I lasted 3.5 years. 2 jobs I lasted a day at, the worst jobs I ever worked. One was being a sign spinner. Those people on the corner spinning the signs. I did that in the hot California heat. I lasted 1 day, never went back to that. And then I had another job, awful, freezing cold, working in a refrigerator, like at a meat packing plant. It was awful. So those are the 2 jobs I only lasted 1 day at. And then the 2 jobs I lasted the longest at, one was the McDonald's job. I lasted 3.5 years. And then parking cars for an all-female valet parking company, and it was called Valet Girls. So play on words, valet and valley girls. Valet Girls. And honestly, I think I'm about to hit the longest I've ever worked at a job is coming up is for Darman. I think that's about to be my longest job because I started October 2018. So it's
4 years?
Yeah. So it's my 4th season, but my 3rd year. So if I last a few months longer, then it'll be the longest job I've ever had.
Nice. So I forgot to ask you before, but how was your vacation in Arizona?
Oh, it was lovely. I don't know if you were keeping up on some of my stories on Instagram. I have a few more to post. It was a lot of fun. I should probably put a video together or something, but first vacation for Elijah. Elijah is our 3-year-old, and he's never been on a vacation before. We had taken Timothy there to a different place in Arizona when he was 6. It's much different traveling with a 6-year-old compared to a 3-year-old. 3-year-olds do not do good on 10-hour car rides, so it was a challenge, but we did good.
Nice. Do you have any memorable experiences you had throughout your trip?
I really loved the night before we left. We went to this dinner theater called the Blazing M Ranch.
Ooh.
And pretty much everything else Rob picked, and this was something I picked. I'm like, I think I would like to do this. So we got there, and they had people. It was like a little Old West town, and people were dressed in the Old West costumes. And we took a little tractor ride around the ranch, and they told us all about the ranch, and you could get old-time pictures taken and dress up if you wanted to. I did something I'd never done before. I rode a mechanical bull. That was interesting. Much harder than it looks, let me tell you that. I did axe throwing for the first time. That is actually also much harder than it looks. I shot an old-time, I don't know how old the gun was, like a 45 Colt something, at the Targets. That was fun. They had a little museum there. Then they fed us all a big dinner, and we got to watch a little singing show with some funny comedy sketches, and I think that was probably the highlight of my trip. But even just spending time with the kids uninterrupted without being on my computer, which is what I'm doing 6 days a week, is if I'm not shooting something, I'm at home on the computer all day. So it was like 7 days straight of uninterrupted family time. So that was definitely a change.
Yeah, that's amazing. Family time is always worth more than either a job or how much you get paid. It's always worth more.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, what are some big accomplishments you are proud of, either on the job or in life?
Um, well, I'm still married to my high school sweetheart. That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that they met someone when they were a teenager and they're still together after more than 2 decades. Um, Also, I think my 2 kids are my greatest accomplishments, I would say. Um, yeah, for me, it's also the books that I've written because that's like pouring out my heart and soul and my thoughts and putting it into the world, putting my babies out in the world to be accepted or be rejected or I would say those are big ones. I've also got some things that I'm currently working on that I'm very proud of that will be out soon.
Oh, nice. So, would you mind giving us a bit of a creative background over your books? The whole, it's not inspiration, but like whole backstory behind your books and what they're about.
Mm-hmm. So I write quirky, motivational poetry with a punch for Jesus freaks, spiritual snobs, believers bustling to be better, and hypocrites hankering to be holy. It's for all those people that want to be better but know they're not, and they're trying to work on it but they don't know how, and they hit these situations. And I've had people say to me, I love when people say, I don't I don't like poetry, but I like your poetry. Or normally I don't understand poetry, but yours I totally get. When they leave me these comments, it's like it's fun, it's quirky, but at the same time it hits home. And I've had people say, "Wow, you really share a lot of personal stuff. You don't hide, you go there." So I go into my faults and my problems and the issues that a lot of people would try to cover up and pretend like everything is okay. And I rip it apart and I display it and talk about it so that other people who are going through stuff can feel like, wow, I'm not alone in this. And they can, help overcome their problems as well.
Yes. So, let's get back to the juicy questions. What's your favorite Darman video you participated in?
There's so many. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel called My 8 Favorite Darman Videos I'm in. But I would say if I could narrow it down to like 3 of them, I really love the one. So maybe I'll say it's the one about a teen who's about to jump off a bridge. I play a mother, and she's on the bridge holding up a sign that says, "More hugs, less suicide."
Oh, I
And
watched
I'm
that.
giving hugs to everybody. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I see that one. Yeah.
I'm giving hugs to every stranger that walks by, and some man's like, "Ugh, you're not gonna make a difference. Who really cares?" Whatever. And of course, my "So You See" backstory is I had a son who killed himself, and so I'm out on that bridge every night where my son killed himself, giving hugs to strangers so they don't do the same thing. So that's probably my favorite, and it's not even one I listed in my 8 favorite video I made. It's like my number 1 favorite, probably. It's meant the most to me, and I've had people who've seen that video actually inbox me and send me messages saying they were going to kill themselves and they saw that video and decided not to. So I think it's made a big impact on people.
So, would you mind telling us a bit more about you and Aiden Minka's mom and son on stage?
Yeah, so we've been a dynamic duo for a couple of years now. He's probably played my son at least 15 times, probably. I don't know, he was kind of shy and withdrawn when I first started working with him, kind of kept to himself. And now he's like blossomed. He's like this completely different kid, ball of energy, always smiling. Every time he turn to him, he's doing some kind of dance, doing some kind of kooky walk. He's just, I don't know, he's just fun. And seeing what he's accomplished. I mean, he has as a teenager having his own merch line, and I think he just inspires a lot of people. And it's, man, I wish I was like that when I was a teenager, instead of sulking around depressed and hating myself. I would be so much further in life if I could have grasped that. It took me a while to get here. It took me a while to be happy, but hey, I'm here now.
So, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself back then to motivate yourself and be more happier?
Yeah, I would say, you know what? Who cares what other people think of you? They have their own insecurities. What they're saying to you, how they're judging you, is honestly just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. When someone picked on me or bullied me, instead of just feeling bad about myself and going and crying and thinking I'm the worst person in the world, I would have, instead of just believing every comment I was told, I would have done some soul searching and said, wait a minute, is this even true? Why when I was a teenager, when someone put me down or said bad things about me, why did I just believe it? And are they somebody that I should believe? You know, do they have an important place in my life? And I should have realized, you know, this was before there was like the term trolls or haters, or, you know, I didn't know that there was just people in life who would just be mean to be mean. And so I took everything they said and made it like destroy my life. So my younger self, I would have said, first of all, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. So if they're talking trash, talking hate about you, would you even want to have their life? Would you want to be miserable and mean and nasty and treat people? No. So you just can't take advice from someone like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's some good advice. So I saw one of your videos and I felt very heart touched because it like very synced in with me. I think it was your high school video. I don't remember the title of it, but I remember commenting in it. Would you mind giving us a bit more insight on that video and what it meant to people who watched it?
Can you give me more hints of what this video is about? Because I'm not sure what video you're referring to.
I'll look at it right now.
Okay. I'm like trying to remember. Was this on my own channel?
Yes, it was. Oh, it's the use this shortcut to success productivity Katherine Norland video.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You know, when I make these inspirational videos for YouTube, it's kind of like you asked me, what would you tell your young self? I start to remember all the times in my life where I failed and I fell short and I didn't know what to do, and I was down and depressed and I was stuck and I didn't know how to move and I had no motivation. And I see where I am now and how I got over it. And whenever I come across people on the internet or they inbox me questions and I see what they're going through, I remember what it was like to be in that place. And so I give advice from the heart to let people know, hey, you're not alone. This is what I would do, you know, in that situation. This is how you need to overcome it. And I want to be, you know, that mentor, that person that's saying you're not alone. Let me help pull you out of the pit so we can walk hand in hand together. I want people to know they're not alone. So whenever I come across a situation where I remember something in my past and how I got over it, I want to bring that solution to people. I want to help them. And it's really born from what people ask me, but it triggers, oh, I remember when I was in that place. And then I'm vulnerable and I share my trials and my failures, and I just think that's how you can really help other people find freedom. It's because it's so easy to be on the internet and acting like you have this awesome life, this perfect life, this movie star life, and you don't have any problems, and you only shoot yourself from the best angles when you have your hair and makeup done, and blah blah blah. And to me, that's not even relatable to people. Yeah, you can. It might be aspirational for a hot second to, oh, I wish I had that money, I wish I had that body. But then when you realize it's not really attainable to most people, you start to instead make people feel bad about yourself. But when I started being vulnerable, when I started showing myself without makeup on, when I did not have my hair combed, if I'm crying, whatever, people go, wow, she's a real person. And I just think it's more relatable, and people don't feel so alone when they see you're not this celebrity, you're not just this person that has everything going right, you're down in the mud, with them. And I think that's important to show.
Yeah, that's also very cool because like most actors or celebrities, like you said, are very humble or down to earth, and don't want to be like related to everyone day to day life. So
Yeah.
that's very unique to have someone like yourself, very humble and down to earth. So in other words, one of your other videos is like you on the road giving quotes. Would you mind giving us a on the road quote?
Oh, that's what you meant by that. Um, a lot of it just comes to me in the moment. Um, so like once I was like struggling with multitasking, like I had too much stuff going on my plate, and I started to get all like stressed out and crazy. And I remember coming up with one that said, tackle and tame one tiger at a time, and don't get tangled in the tempting jungle of multitasking. It's kind of a poetic, lot of alliteration, but sometimes I just come up with stuff on the spot, and I don't always remember it. I have to go back and watch the videos. Another one I came up with for a video was, whatever God gave you and however He made you, no one can dissuade you if God wants to display you. And I say that to people who maybe think they don't have everything going for them. They're not the smartest, they're not the cutest, they're not the best, they don't come from a great background. But no matter what anybody says, however God made you, whatever you're working with, no one can stop you if God says it's your time to be out front. You make a platform for yourself. God will make the way. He'll open up the doors to display you, to have the level of success that you need to have. But I do think, as you mentioned, I think humility is a big part of it, because prideful people fall, they have a great fall. And if you know what? If you're humble and you're not trying to climb on everybody to get to the top, to get ahead, when you do stumble and fall, you don't have that far to fall from because you're already humble. I remember once, sometimes people get discouraged. They're like, well, man, I should be further in life. I haven't done anything. I haven't, accomplished any dreams. And I remember my pastor saying once, well, then you better get going because you can't hurt yourself falling from the bottom. And I remember that, thinking that was so funny. Sometimes we think, well, I can't launch this company, I can't launch this channel, this podcast, this CD, whatever, because I'm nobody. Nobody knows who I am. Well, guess what? That's the best time to launch it, because if you fail, you don't have far to fall. If you're a big famous movie star celebrity and you launch something and it fails, that's a high place to fall from. But guys, if you haven't done anything yet and you're scared to do something because you haven't done anything, it's like the opposite. If you're at the bottom, guess what? It's not very far to fall. So go for it.
Yes. That's a big gap. So I definitely related to that a lot because there was a lot of successes and mishaps throughout this entire podcast. Like we had many episodes planned before we did this one that never launched or never went published. Yeah. So yeah, that's very relatable. But so if you can collaborate with any artist, singer, content creator, who would it be and why?
Hmm. Interesting. Ah. Well, I really like an actor, David Morris,
Oh,
and I like his acting, and I like his values, and how his he like puts his family first. Um, who are some other ones? I don't know many singers, but I could probably tell an actor or two. I also really like. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. He starred in Guardians of the Galaxy.
oh, the
He would
is it
be
the
really cool.
Star Lord, the
He was
actor?
the lead guy.
Ah,
He was the lead guy who was a kid, and I'm gonna remember his name right when we're done. But yeah, I think he would be really cool to work with. I don't know, we have something in common. We both had our children premature, so sometimes it's nice to relate to people who've like been through some of the same stuff that you've been through. I think it would be really cool to work with Denzel Washington too. That would be on my dream list of actors to work with for sure.
did you mean Chris Pratt?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty sure. You remember? Good on you.
So we went over Aiden and his videos with you. What's your favorite moment with Colin? Because I believe you guys both also did videos with like lawyers and wives and all of that. What's your favorite moment with Colin?
Yeah, he's actually played my husband in multiple episodes. And lately we're in a 3 or 4 now coming up where he's the teacher and I'm the mom of the kids he's teaching. But we've probably done at least 10 or 15 where he's played my husband. I liked the one gold digger sues her own husband,
Oh,
and it was in the courtroom, and then he shows up as the surprise lawyer who I have this history with, who I was trying to be a gold digger to him too. That was a really fun one to shoot. I enjoyed that one.
so what are your thoughts on the evolution of Darman videos from being a skit to being like almost a full movie video?
Yeah, they have gotten some of them are 4 or 5 times longer than when I started. When I started, they were 5 or 6 pages, and I just shot the one with the plus size ballerina, and I think that was like 24 pages. So, and I think Dar recently wrote one that was 30 pages. So yeah, it's been a huge. The scripts have gotten longer. The storytelling's gotten better. He's leveling up. He's leveling up in so many ways. In the actors, in the production value, in the storytelling, in the lengths of the scripts. I'm honored to be a part of this. I don't even know what to call it. A
Journey?
movement. Journey. Yeah, journey. What a movement, all of it. It's really beautiful to see. I mean, I had a mom reach out to me just this week because her daughter met me on vacation. She ran into me and she recognized me and wanted a picture taken with me, and her mom was telling me that she had gone through some really tough trials and some abuse, and she thinks that the Darman videos are what actually is the reason she's still here and still going, and how it made such a big impact on her. And I know for every person who tells me that, I'm sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of others that feel the same way, that they finally don't feel alone in the world. They finally go, wow, I'm not the only one getting bullied, or, I'm not the only one who's dealing with this. And it's a nice way to cope, to be able to get through what you're going through.
Catherine, do you as an actor feel a sense of comfort when you make someone's day better or influence them and, I don't know, protect them in a way throughout the Darman videos?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Do you feel a sense of comfort when you influence others throughout the Dharman videos, or what do you feel when you inspire or motivate someone throughout the Dharman videos?
Hmm. I don't always know that I'm doing it, but I do get messages on a daily basis where people are reaching out to me, and I'm not sure if it's comfort. In some ways, I feel like I'm stepping into, it's like a continuation of my purpose. So I started, you know, writing my books back in 2008 and putting out these inspirational messages, and I started putting out the videos where I'm giving advice to help people, probably, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 months before I even knew about Dar, before his channel started. So I felt like I wanted to get my advice videos, my help, to help people. I wanted to do it on a bigger scale, but I didn't know how to do it. And then when I got the opportunity to work in Dar and his platform blew up, it made what I was already doing be able to expand on a bigger level, because I always had these like wisdom nuggets and this yearning to want to help people. And I've always been like this mother hen who's always wanting to make sure everybody's okay. And I would spend long hours giving my friends advice over the phone and just making these videos and doing, giving these advice to people. It's been able to expand because finding the fans who like my work on Dharman, then they come find my channel and they're like, whoa, I never knew that you had your own stuff and you're making your own videos. It's been great because it's something I've always done or been doing, or if you go all the way back 15 years on Facebook, I'm putting out these inspirational quotes and messages. It's just that nobody knew about me. So it's not like I'm new to the inspiration self-help game. It's just that being a part of Dar is expanded my platform in a beautiful way. And what I love about it is it really aligns with where I was already headed, and now it's just expanded to a bigger level. So I think it goes hand in hand together.
So, as you know, you're an actor. What other A-list actors have you met? Maybe in other productions, like a movie or a TV show? Because before Dharma, you were in other productions, such as a TV show. Have you met anyone else? Any actors?
I mean, I haven't kept a list, so I probably don't remember everyone, but I've met David Hasselhoff. I saw him sing in person and met him at a film festival, and I was an extra in a movie he did. I met Charlize Theron once, and I didn't work with her yet, but she was speaking at an event, and I had a chance to meet her. I met I'm blanking on his name, but I met once this Gary Coleman, who was the star of A Different Strokes, which is a TV show in the 80s. I also worked with Martin Kove in the film Reality Terror Night, and he was famous for being in Rambo and The Karate Kid, and now in that spin-off on YouTube, Cobra Kai. And I don't know if that's the ones I remember right now.
Have you ever been to the Oscars or been nominated for a Oscar?
No, I haven't done any Oscar level films. I've mostly done just little independent films. So I have not had the opportunity to do that, but I have been nominated Best Actress at a couple of different film festivals. And I recently won an award just like 3 months ago in Las Vegas for Outstanding Performance as an Actor at the Las Vegas Black Film Festival.
Nice. So, I believe we met through the Hot Topic Celebs interview with you on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, tell us about
Okay,
your experience on that.
That was an interesting podcast. I've never done one that was that long, that length. I was like, ooh, halfway through I was like, I think I need to go to the bathroom. But I'm just gonna hold it. It was a long interview, but it was fun, and he asked me questions that like, I was blindsided. I was like, oh, I wish we would have had time to think about this one. It was interesting because he did ask questions outside of the norm, which I had never gotten asked before. So that's always delightful. I just wish I was quicker on my feet to have answers for them. But other than that, it was good. He was really thorough and in depth, and yeah, I could tell he had a good background, and yeah, he was a fan of the Dhar Mann stuff, and it was delightful.
Nice. So let's just say in the near future, if you could write any book or script or even a play, what kind of play would it be, or what kind of books do you want to write about?
Oh my goodness. So I'm currently working on a fourth book in the Poetic Prescription series based on what people have been asking me for. And it's called Poetic Prescriptions for Demolishing Depression and Heading Towards Happiness. And I'm talking about my journey of how I got out of depression and was able to actually finally be happy. Um, I also want to put out a book maybe next year. It's a couple books. It's a couple books I want to put out next year. One is going to be based on my course, You Are Worthy. So I have an online course that I have been working on for 3 years since I started writing it, a year since I started filming it. I hope to release it in September. But it's really my journey on how I overcame self-hate and found self-love by finding out what God had to say about me and how that proves I'm worthy no matter what I've done in life, what I haven't done, what I have or haven't accomplished, what I look like, what my bank status is, all of that. So for those who maybe wouldn't be able to afford the full 10-hour long course, I want to put out like a book that's going to be like a truncated version that's more affordable. But I am also hoping next October to put out a book I've been writing about Hollywood and some of the different people I've met in Hollywood along the way. Some things, some troubles I've run into as an actress here. It's going to be different than anything I've ever written because all the other books so far are faith-based, but this is going to be kind of a nitty-gritty, seedy book about the underbelly of some of the creepiest, worst people I've met in Hollywood.
Sounds fun.
But it's real life experiences. But if I'm going to be true to the one ultimate book I would want to write, there's one I've been trying to write for 13 years, and that is the memoir of the 118 days I spent in the neonatal intensive care unit fighting for my son's life. He was born 4 months early. He was this tiny little thing that was 1.5 pounds. The doctor said he had a 90% chance of dying. He had a hole in his heart. He didn't even have lungs. He didn't even have the branches in his lungs or the buds. It was so touch and go. It was a huge walk of faith. It was every day I would show up at the hospital and I didn't know if he was going to be alive that day. I didn't know if he was going to make it through the day. And I've had some rough drafts, but every time I try to write it, I just find myself spiraling down and bawling, and I can't. But I know it's going to make a big difference and a big impact because I found out nowadays 10% of babies are being born premature. I think that has to do with our stress these days, our fast-paced, busy life. But that would be the ultimate book I would want to write if I could get myself to sit down and face my emotions and go back to that time, because sometimes I get triggered and I have this PTSD of that stressful time, and I just freeze up, or I'll be driving and I'll think, oh, I should put this in the book, and then I'll start remembering, and then I've got tears streaming down my face. And it's something that it's hard to explain, and I feel weird even using the term PTSD because you think of that as someone who's been through war or somebody gone through some violent crime, but really, I noticed I had it when I couldn't even talk about the situation. I remember the first time after maybe 2 or 3 years later when I tried to read one of the poems from the book out in public. I probably didn't even get 3 lines into the poem, and I'm just bawling my eyes out, and everybody in the audience is looking at me like, oh no. And people are coming up to me afterwards like, did your son die? I'm like, no, he's fine, he's alive. And they're looking at me like, well, then why are you crying that? If he's alive and he's fine. It's just, I don't know, something about that. So, and I've talked to other people who've been through really scary situations in the intensive care unit with their children, and I don't know why I'm not just like totally fine with it, but for some reason it's still like a trigger. And then when I had my second son 10.5 years later, again, he was born premature, and it was like flashback. And I remember one time I came, we have specific times. You can only see your child in this specific window of time, and if you don't come on time, you don't get to see your child. You're not allowed to hold them, and it's this like separation anxiety because you can't even touch your child, and it's supposed to be this time of bonding and nurturing. And I remember one time I was on time, but they decided to feed him early, so they wouldn't let me hold him. And I just remember this like flashback, and I started just sobbing uncontrollably. And she's like, the nurse was like tripping out, like what is your problem? But she didn't know about the 118 days I had spent previously in the neonatal intensive care unit. Like, can I see him? Can I not see him? Can I touch him? Can I hold him? And so it was like all these memories came flooding back. And so yeah, that's why I haven't been able to write it yet.
And does your son experience the experiences with your son, does that influence Katherine Norland, the actor that we now know?
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. I'm such a better actor now that I have my sons.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it really took Timothy being born for me to break down my wall, to break down, I think I had a part of me that was so guarded before I had Timothy. I was so guarded, and coming from a background of having depression and low self-esteem, I think I had this thing where I really, really tried hard to present myself in the best way, as if everything was going good and I didn't have any problems, and and try to. So I think that was kind of a shell that didn't let me get down deep into to be able to access my emotions. But once I had Timothy, it was like the floodgates broke open. I couldn't help it. I would be bawling, dripping snot out of my nose. We would have these situations like in the hospital, and he just, I was so frazzled. I had to give him medicine like 20 times a day, and he was on oxygen, and I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I had to become a nurse. I was freaked out because different doctors would give him different medicines, and then I didn't know how are they going to interact with each other. They're not talking to each other. Am I going to overdose him? Am I going to kill him? I remember calling the hospital in a panic because I thought I gave him too much, and if he's on oxygen and I'm like not sleeping because I think he's going to twist around in the crib and get the oxygen cord wrapped around his neck and strangle himself. So I was like this hot mess, and I got to the point where I did not care what I looked like. I would be out in public and he would be fighting me. I'm trying to change his diaper, and I'd be out and I had like poop stains on my sleeve, and I was like, I'm done caring what people think about me. And I think getting to that point where you're done caring, it frees you in your acting as well, because you're no longer trying to look good or put on pretenses. And like sometimes I see these actresses and they are so concerned about looking good that they're wearing fake eyelashes even when they're playing a homeless person. And I just had to let it all go, and I think that's helped my range as an actress too, to be able to play different, from homeless to rich and everything in between.
So, speaking of family and acting, both the same, how do you balance or have time management for both your family and your acting career?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think there is like a true balance, as they say, because the the acting industry, it's it's kind of, sometimes it's all or nothing or feast or famine. I might be working 3 days in a row, 16-hour days, but then you don't work for a week and a half or 2 weeks. So it's not like you can do, 6 hours family time, 6 hours work, 6 hours this and 6 hours sleep. It's not like that. So I think, to quote an old song from, was it the 70s or 80s? Love the one you're with. That's a refrain of a song. Love the one you're with. So if you're acting, love it, be all in it. Don't be going, gosh, I wish I was at home with my kids. I haven't seen my kids in 3 days. Someone else is putting cereal in their bowl and changing their diaper, whatever. And then when you're at home, don't be, when you have that dedicated family time, don't be going, oh, I got to get my next job. When are they going to book me again? How can I? Because you don't want to have split focus. So love the one you're with. Whatever comes your way, be focused on that. If it's family day, like Sundays, I don't work. People try to get me to work. They try to get me to do interviews, things like that. I don't work on Sundays because that's my dedicated family day. So you just have to set boundaries and have barriers. Otherwise, for someone like me who's easily a workaholic, I before I had kids, I would work from 6 a.m. till 11 or 12 at night, and now I have to shut it off at 8 p.m. And sometimes even that's too long. They'll be in here pulling at me, mommy. So sometimes they get me to stop working because I would just keep going.
So, we previously interviewed an actor by the name of Parker James Fulmore, and he's one of the Billy Eilish actors on New York Times Square. I believe. I don't know, but like, what would you say to young actors, and what do you think of young motivational influencer actors who are like maybe taking over the industry and versus older, more professional actors?
I mean, I think there's a place for everyone. I think you're never too old and you're never too young. I think if you have this dream in your heart at a young age, that's great. Go for it. Be careful. Let your parents in on everything. Um, because sometimes I've seen in Hollywood some shady producers and directors that will prey on young people, take advantage of them, So I would say, always have a buddy with you, always have your parent, always, be careful. And then old actors, don't get discouraged. Yeah, there may be fewer parts for you, but also your competition probably has left the business. They got tired of, not getting parts. There's room for everyone, and I also think you can be inspirational at any age. I've seen 5-year-old preachers that I'm like, what? How do they know so much? How do they couldn't have read the whole Bible when they're 5 years old. So I think any age you can be an inspiration, and I think at any age you can go for your dreams. I don't think there's limitations on age, on race, on size. If God put that dream in your heart, you gotta go for it.
So let's talk about COVID for just a little bit. How did COVID affect your personal life or people around you?
Oh, that's, wow. It had pluses and it definitely had minuses. I think a lot of people can attest to pluses and minuses. It helped me. I'll talk about how it helped me first. It helped me get out of my go mentality. One night I'm at Bible study, the next night I'm in an acting class, the next night I'm at voiceover class, the next night I'm at wrestling practice, the next night I'm at a networking mixer, the next night I'm filming, I'm gone, I'm always gone. And everything shut down and I'm home, and I'm home, and I'm home. And every night I'm home. And I had a lot of time to think, and I had a lot of time to journal, and I had a lot of time to see that I didn't have a lot of time, that life is passing by quicker than I had anticipated, and I haven't accomplished all the things I wanted to accomplish because I was always on the go. Somebody wanted me to go here, somebody wanted me to do this, somebody wanted me, and I was always going and doing what other people wanted me to do. And now I didn't have to go and do anything. So I got to evaluate what was important to me. And when LA opened back up, which it hasn't totally fully, I got to be clear on, okay, even if this show starts back up again, or this project starts back up, or these things, am I going to still want to do that? And the answer to a lot of it was no. I got clear on what brought me joy and what made me happy and what is going to be part of my legacy. And during that time, I told you about the first book I wrote, Poetic Prescriptions for Pesky Problems. Well, during COVID, I rewrote this entire book. So that's why it's a second edition here now. So I used my time wisely. I rewrote all 77 poems in this book and 14 new ones. And that's something I had always wanted to do, but never had time because I was always gone. And I was able, even though all the auditions shut down, sometimes I would be going to 6 auditions a week. There was no more auditions. All of Hollywood shut down. But I was blessed that because of, I think, Darman's contribution to helping people's, helping their, what do I want to say, their mental state, he was able to get, I don't know what it's called, but an essential workers permit. So even though we were shut down for 2 or 3 months, he got an essential workers permit so we could keep we could keep filming, we could keep putting these positive messages out there. And I remember carrying that paper in my bag. So if I would be out on the streets, if a police person would stop me and say, "Where are you going? Are you an essential worker?" I could pull that paper out of my bag and say, "Believe it or not, as an actor, I am an essential worker because people more than ever need content that's going to inspire them to keep going." So those are the two or three positive things. Is I was home, I had time to evaluate what I was doing, I got to rewrite my book, I got to keep working, and I got clear on what I wanted to do in the future and what I was going to say no to. The detriments, yeah, I think there was, financial detriments, but at the same time, um, my husband did not lose his job, and been able to work from home this whole time. So it's been a blessing. He doesn't have to drive an hour to work each way and back. That's 2 hours of commuting, which he hated, which he doesn't have to do anymore. But on a very sad note, um, I lost my acting coach to COVID. We had a lot of projects we were working on together, a lot of stuff we were going to do. He was my mentor and a big influence in my life. And the reason I was able to do a lot of things and accomplish a lot of things. And he was extraordinary. He was like the 3rd best Shakespeare teacher in the world, and he helped me a lot with rewriting some of my poetry and making it better. And I lost my co-star from Darman, Carl Judy was lost to COVID. Yeah, do you remember him from a lot of episodes?
Yeah, I remember him. I remember I remember him coming up on a news article on Google when he passed away from Darman. Yeah.
Yeah, and a film I was in, which just got distribution on Amazon Prime last year, called Magic Hour. I lost my co-star to COVID as well, just a couple months ago. So, 3 people, friends and people in the industry, taken out due to this. And, I'm saddened over not only the deaths, but even the deaths of people's dreams. There's a lot of small businesses that got shut down because of this. A lot of people's livelihood just taken away. Um, so it's sad, and sometimes we just sit here and we feel helpless and we don't know what to do. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
That actually leads her to our next question. What are your thoughts on many of the the show business, and many other essential jobs, and how COVID affected them? So that was our part
Yeah,
two.
no,
Go.
uh, well, big time. Hollywood was shut down. The movie theaters were shut down. I recently tried to go to the movie theater I used to go to almost every week, and they are no longer in business. So a lot of movie theaters, the bigger chains were able to bounce back, but the smaller ones were not able to. Um, I think big budget Hollywood studio movies are moving forward, but the little guys, the little independent films like me that want to make a film for 200,000 or 300,000, which is not a lot of money. Um, Now there's all these to keep people safe on set. There's all this protocol you have to follow to have the COVID tests on set, and the workers, and making sure everything's sanitized. It's adding sometimes 10, 20, 30% of your budget. So now all these small little independent filmmakers who want to make their passion projects aren't going to be able to, because they can't afford the cost of the COVID compliance stuff. So it's, I think it's affecting everyone.
So, Catherine, we're at our final five questions for your ending speech. So let's talk a bit more about Hollywood. Like you said, you're gonna write a book about Hollywood. Tell us a bit more about it. What are some experiences you've faced in the Hollywood industry?
So many, enough to fill up a book. Um, I mean, there's ageism, there's sexism, there's casting couch situations, Me Too movement. There's movement. I just, it's too much to talk about for a PG audience, to be honest with you. um, there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of sometimes seeing someone get the part you didn't get because they would do something that you wouldn't do, if you catch my drift.
Oh, so just like the Darman video, where the
Mayor?
yeah, with the assistant stuff with the producer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That stuff really happens, and the whole Weinstein thing. I've been in some situations where, yeah, they shall remain nameless. So I'm happy that none of that stuff ever happens in a Darman set. And there's not, if you've noticed, there's not even kissing in Darman videos, even with married couples. So I'll tell you one instance. Sometimes Hollywood directors and producers will cast you in a role where you're playing their love interest, and then they'll want to rehearse the scene with you. In other words, they want to make out with you. And you're, as a young actress, as in my 20s, and I'm like, you have this fear, and you're scared, and you don't really know, like, is this normal? Is this, and they make it seem like everything, of course, this is what you were rehearsing. We're rehearsing the scene, and they just, I can't even put words to it right now, because it brings me back to those times where, yeah.
No worries,
yeah,
no worries.
Let's not go there.
So, what do you think of the like women empowered movement, where women have a voice in the acting industry, whereas certain people don't want that? I'm for that,
Yeah.
of course. But like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting you said that. I just saw, Ricky Yvette Westmoreland
Yeah,
from the Darman.
I know.
Ricky, okay. It was interesting. I just remembered it when you mentioned it. She posted a quote the other day. I don't remember it exactly, but it said something like, people will say you have an attitude if you set boundaries. And it's like, sometimes in Hollywood and other places, men are allowed to say no and have boundaries and be firm that they're not going to do something. But suddenly, when a woman says, no, I'm not going to do that, they're like, oh, she has an attitude, or she this, or she that. And just because you have boundaries, but if you don't have them, you get taken advantage of, you get stepped on, you get, you know, everyone knows there's less pay for females. I don't know if the statistics is still 73 cents on the dollar for the same job, but you'll see a man and a woman co-star in the same movie, and the male actor get 10 million and the female actor get 5 million, you know, whatever it is. um, so yeah, there is that. So there hasn't come that equality yet. And not only is there not the equality in pay, if you've noticed, a female actor's career seems to be so much shorter than a male actor's career. I mean, they've made many jokes about it, that women in Hollywood don't work after age 40 unless they're Meryl Streep. Like, she's the only actress that made it beyond that. But there is some validity to that, and that is one of the topics I talk about in my upcoming Hollywood book. So, yeah.
And when is your Hollywood book going to be released?
I'm hoping to release it October of 2022. It's my birthday month, and yeah.
Awesome.
I like to try to release a book on my birthday each year, when possible. But we'll see if it happens this year. I've been so focused on getting my online course out that I'm not sure if it'll happen, but I'm gonna do my best.
So, what are some funny moments or crazy things that happened to you on set while filming a Darman video?
Um, you know, I don't think there's necessarily been anything like super funny, but everyone on the cast and crew is so personable and so fun that sometimes it'll just be silly little things and we will just be laughing hysterically. It could be a prop in the middle of the scene, the prop breaks in half and falls apart, or, you know, someone falling, or blah, 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 they're messing up their lines and they're going blah, 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 or just a lot of that's being caught now that we have a behind the scenes channel. They're putting the bloopers at the end. But I mean, I can't really think of anything that's like so memorable, but just being around an atmosphere where people aren't angry. As I've worked on a lot of movie sets in Hollywood where the crew is angry, the director's angry, the producer's yelling, and everyone's like just in a bad mood, and you don't get that on the Darman set, so it's a nice change.
So, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started acting, or that you now know now?
I wish I would have known that sometimes you don't get the role and it has nothing to do with your talent. There were so many times where I would go to audition after audition after audition after audition. I wouldn't get the role. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm terrible. I'm no good. You know, and you don't know you didn't get the role because they already cast 3 white people with blonde hair and they needed a different ethnicity, or you don't get the role because you remind the director of his ex-girlfriend and he doesn't want that reminder on set every day, or you didn't get the role because you're too short, because your male co-star is shorter than you, so they had to hire a shorter actress so he would look tall. There's so many reasons you don't get the role, and it has nothing to do with your talent. I wish I would have known that early on, and I want new actors to know that so they don't quit prematurely. You know, I would say most of the time you're not getting a part has nothing to do with your talent, because especially if you get a callback. Callback is when you get a second audition, they want to see you again. So they might get 2,000 submissions for a role. Then they might narrow it down to wanting to see 100 of you in person. They'll do and then they narrow it down to 20 of you they want to see again. If you get a callback, that means any 20 of you are capable to do this role. So any of you could do it. Getting the callback, like, you've won, even if they don't book you for the role. So the other 19, there's all these factors like, well, how is she going to look next to him, or does she look too similar to this other actress, or if the height thing, so many different things that are totally out of your control. Oh, she's got two different colored eyes. Well, yeah, whatever. Out of your control. Nothing to do with your talent. So you just have to just let it roll off. Don't let it mean that you're terrible. Don't let it mean that you're not good. And if you have an agent, you can ask for feedback. Sometimes they can call the casting director and say, hey, especially if it's a callback, maybe not for a first audition. What was it that about my client that you didn't like? Oh, they'll say, oh no, Catherine was great. It's just that, we already purchased the 18th century costumes, and she's got a little 10 extra pounds on her, and she won't fit in the costume. But her acting was great. Some of these productions, they can't afford to get a costume in your size. I have missed out on parts because I'm not sticked in. So these are things you just have to let roll off your back and not cry about it. You are the size you are. Be happy about yourself. If you don't like your size, lose the stinking 10 pounds so you'll fit the costume. If not, don't cry about it. Move on, because there's another role where you'll fit in the costume.
So what movies or TV shows have you been on or plan to be on?
Well, I've been on Malcolm in the Middle. I've been on a TV show called Snapped, which is actually a true life reenactment show. All these real life people, women, who have one day snapped and killed someone. So that's a popular episode that's run for several seasons. I was also on 2 episodes of Beauty and the Baller. That was on a BET channel. It was one of the BET channel spin-offs. There's some stuff coming up, but I don't usually talk about stuff coming up that's out of my control, because so many times I get booked in a movie, I get booked on some show or something, then it doesn't happen, they pull the plug, they rewrite the script, and the character's not in it anymore. It's like, if I could tell you how many things I've been cast in that have never happened, or shows I've been cast in and shot and they never finished it or put it out. It's like, I have like 68 credits on IMDb, I think, for acting, but honestly, I've been in over 150 projects, so you just never know. I've certainly have more experience than what it looks like online.
So our final question for your ending speech. What is it like to be an actor or / cast member of Darman, or an actor in general?
Well, those are 2 very different things. Being a cast member for Darman is completely different than being an actor in general. One is a delight. One is trudging uphill in the mud, barefoot, with no umbrella, while it's raining, and you're starving, and you don't know if you'll ever eat. That's the being an actor in general. Being an actor in Darman means you're gonna eat, you're gonna get fed. They'll probably give you an umbrella if it's raining. You'll have people that will be walking up the mountain with you, so you're not alone. Completely different experiences. I had 18 years as a regular actor, and now 3 years as a Darman actor, and I have to say, I much prefer the Darman experience. But don't get me wrong, not all my career before that was awful. I had some beautiful moments, great moments, fun times, great characters I played, but it is an uphill battle to remain an actor. The cost of it, you're paying for classes, you're paying for voice coaches, you're paying for wardrobe, you're paying to look nice, you're paying for trainers, you're going to auditions, you're spending the gas, spending the time, buying the headshots, you're paying for casting service, you're putting all this into it, and then maybe once every 3 months you'll book a job that pays you $150. It ends up, after you've spent thousands to get that one little job with one line, and so it's not for the faint of heart. You have to really want it, because not everybody is going to become an overnight success. So if you're only in it for the fame, for the fortune, for wanting to be on the red carpets and wanting to be discovered, hate to tell you, but only 3% of actors make a living at it. So there's the 97% of us that are doing it because we love it, because it's our passion, because we can't imagine doing anything else. And yeah, we have to have a day job because we have to fund our passion.
Nice. Thank you for joining the What the Hell Are We Doing podcast, Catherine. It's now time for the ending speech.
What's the ending speech?
It's where you influence the viewers from what we talked about, or motivate them from what we talked about.
So is it like a recap?
Yeah.
Or is it okay? Based on what we've talked about. Oh, and yeah, I do want to say before we do this epic ending speech that I'm not prepared for, that I'm gonna wing, I want to let you know my film Cannibal Corpse Killers got distribution recently, and I starred in this movie, have multiple fight scenes, awesome zombies. It's now available on Google Play, Tubi, iTunes, Redbox, Amazon Prime, Xbox, PlayStation, YouTube, Fandango Now, and lots of streaming services. So if you want to see me playing a badass, am I allowed to say that word?
Yeah.
That you do not see on the Darman series, go check out Cannibal Corpse Killers. Okay, end speech off the top of my head. If you have a dream in your heart, you have to go for it. Come hell, come high water, come obstacles that stand in your way. You can't let what anybody thinks of you stop you. You can't let others' perceptions stop you. If you have this dream burning in your heart, you cannot let other people take their words, which become a fire extinguisher, and put out the fire. You gotta keep that passion burning. You gotta keep the kindling going. You will regret it if you stop. You can stop if you don't love it anymore. You can stop if it doesn't become your passion anymore. You can stop once you start to hate it. But if you love it, if you dream about it, if you think about it, if you go to the movies and you're like, man, this is, I just want to do this one day. Don't stop because someone says you're too fat. Don't stop because someone says you're too short. Don't stop because someone says you're too dark. Don't stop because someone says you have a big nose. Don't stop because someone says you need plastic surgery. Don't stop, because if you don't quit, you win. And you will never get ahead in anything in life if you let other people's comments put you down. So you need to get on your earphones and just put on your favorite music and block out all the negativity from other people, because there's going to be naysayers everywhere you go. There's going to be loads of people who tell you you cannot win, you're not going to do it, it's not going to work. They're going to quote you the statistics that only 3% of actors make a living. Even if it's true, you can't let it discourage you. So even if they present you with facts, if it's a dream burning in your heart, you can't even let the facts stop you. Your passion has to burn brighter and burn hotter than any of these other people's experiences, because what they're speaking to you is their fear. They maybe care for you. They maybe don't want to see you get hurt, but someone trying to put out your fire is not helping you. Someone trying to dull you down so you don't get hurt is not helping you. Sometimes we need to face a little rejection to get stronger. Sometimes we need to meet challenges. We don't become strong with our muscles unless we meet some resistance. So if someone is paving the way, trying to make everything work out for you, you're going to be weak. You're not going to be strong. You're not going to be able to stand up to the storms in life if you've never faced resistance. So when you come across a challenge and you come across resistance, let it make you stronger. Let it build your muscles emotionally, mentally, spiritually, so that you're ready for the next storm and you can stand 5 seconds longer than you did in the last storm. And the next storm you can stand 10 seconds longer. And it doesn't matter if you fall down. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down. It matters how many times you get up.
That was amazing. That was amazing. I forgot to ask one last question. My producers might hate me for this, but could you give us a "so you see"? I believe I asked this to you on the Hot Topic Celebs as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
So, you see. So you see.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for being on the
Yeah.
podcast. Can you give us your URL for your YouTube channel where people can find you, what you do, and your Instagram?
Yes, please. Please come find me on YouTube. It's youtube.com/user/Catherine Norland. Or you could just type Catherine Norland into the search bar. I put out 4 videos a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are are advice videos. They're my advice, and then Thursdays I put out an inspirational short. Fridays I put out a special video, which is usually a podcast, an interview, some acting stuff, a project I've acted in or directed, or a poetry video, something that's more special. And every Sunday morning on YouTube, I go live at 8 a.m. to answer your questions. So my Instagram handle is Katherine Norland, and my Facebook handle is Kat Norland, K-A-T.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you, Nerdy Albert.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.